Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi, Haribo. So today we are going to hear from Krishna Raheja, and Agastya Prabhu, that's about it. Okay. So Krishna and okay, so we'll start with Agastya Prabhu. Good. So Agastya writes, read Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.1 to Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.12. And write a summary of it. And then look up Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.34 and Bhagavad Gita 2.42.43. And write an essay on what is Veda Vadarata. Well, okay, and that was last Sunday, but okay, so let's take a look at 6.3.1 to 12. When the Yamadutas were confounded and defeated by Vishnudutas, they approached their master Yamaraj, since it had never before been heard that an order from Yamaraja had been baffled or stopped. The Yamadutas were almost angry, asking whether there were many other masters apart from Yamaraj. If their master couldn't protect servants who were carrying out his commands, what was the point of serving such an incapable master? The Yamadutas continued to inquire, since there are many different karmis or workers, there may be different judges or rulers to give them justice. But just as one central emperor controls different departmental rulers, there must be one supreme controller to guide all the judges. Good point. The Yamadutas were confused, since they saw that the Vishnudutas and Yamaraja opposed each other and didn't know who the supreme controller was anymore, since Yamaraja's order had been thwarted or defeated. They then described the incident of the Vishnudutas liberating Ajamila. Yamaraja replied by saying, "My dear servants, you have accepted me as the supreme, but factually I am not. Above me, and above all the other demigods, including Indra and Chandra, is the one supreme master and controller. The partial manifestations of his personality are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are in charge of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this universe. He is like the two threads that form the length and breadth of a woven cloth. The entire world is controlled by him, just as a bull is controlled by a rope in its nose. Since the Yamadutas suspected he was not the supreme controller, he immediately cleared their doubts by saying that he wasn't the supreme, and above him, and even Chandra and Indra, there was one supreme controller. Okay, interesting. Okay, so then the second homework that he did, and this was something we had to do last Sunday, I think. Look up Srimad Bhagvatam 2.2.34 and Bhagavad Gita 2.42 and 43 and write an essay on what is Vedavada Rata. The great personality, so Agastya writes, the great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. According to the purport, Brahma is the highest Vedic authority, and also the qualitative incarnation to Godhead. Brahma was the first one to hear the Vedas at the beginning of creation. After he scrutinized the Vedas with full attention 3 times, he concluded that the topmost perfection of all religious principles was becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee. This conclusion was becoming a pure. This conclusion is accepted by all acharyas, and the only people who oppose it are Vedavadaratas. The Vedavadaratas are people who reject the paramount message of the Vedas and only engage in sense gratification. Okay, great. Krishna, Agastya, thank you. All right, now let's see what Krishna Raheja has written for his homework. He says, I only did the Vedic Varnashrama's recommended way of living, which is only part of the homework. It is attached. Haribol. Okay. So, Krishna Raheja writes, Vedic Varnashrama's recommended way of living. The Vedic Varnashrama recommended way of living is to abide by a person's Varna. There are 4 Varnas, namely Sudras, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmanas. The Sudras are service providers. The Vaishyas are agriculturists and merchants. And the Kshatriyas are rulers, warriors, and administrators, and Brahmins are priests, scholars, and teachers. Whatever you were born in, that is the path you ideally follow, according to the Vedic Ashrama system. This is not tied with higher class or lower class. In Krishna consciousness, all of the Varnashrams, all of the Varnas and Ashramas are meant for serving Krishna with their respective duties. Okay, Krishna, thank you. So, today we're going to continue in chapter 3 of Canto 6, beginning with verse number 13. Okay, verse number 13 says, just as the driver of a bullock cart ties ropes through the nostrils of his bulls to control them, the Supreme Personality of Godhead binds all men through the ropes of his words in the Vedas, which set forth the names and activities of the distinct orders of human society, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. In fear, the members of these orders all worship the Supreme Lord by offering him presentations according to their respective activities. Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Well, this is an interesting verse because of several things that are said. One second, let me just find those things. Well, first of all, it says that the members of these different orders, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, all worship the Supreme Lord by offering his presentations according to their respective activities. Okay, well that's good. And okay, so that means that no one is excluded from serving Krishna. All people can serve Krishna, regardless of their Varna or their Ashrama. Purport. In this material world, everyone is conditioned regardless of who he is. One may be a human being, a demigod, or an animal, tree or plant. But everything is controlled by the laws of nature. And behind this natural control is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed by Bhagavad Gita 9.10, wherein Krishna says, Maya dakshena pakriti suyate sa characharam hetananena konte jagat viparivartate. Okay. The material nature is working under my direction and producing all moving and non-moving beings. Thus Krishna is behind the natural machine which works under his control. Okay, we've read that many times, and Prabhupada has recommended and has written that many times. Apart from other living entities, the living being in the human form of body is systematically controlled by the Vedic injunctions in terms of the divisions of Varna and Ashrama. Yes, so we voluntarily put ourselves under the control of Krishna. Why? Because there's several things that we understand by reading Bhagavad Gita and associating with devotees. One, Krishna is the source of everything material and spiritual, including all the jivas, all the individual souls, meaning us. Two, he's the supreme controller of everything. Nothing is independent of him. And three, he's present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma and in every atom of the universe as Paramatma to keep things working in an orderly way, to be the witness of everything the living entity does, and to reward the living entity with either positive results for his pious activities or negative results for his negative activities. And third possibility is to liberate a devotee completely from the cycle of birth and death due to the devotee developing pure love and devotion for Krishna. So all these things are the background arrangement of the life of a person. And most of those, all three of those things are not realized by people today. Therefore, they're unnecessarily suffering under the influence of the modes of material nature. They even hear about Krishna, see him in his activities. They still don't believe he existed. And therefore they live in this illusory playground called the material world. And they get caught up by attraction to things. Just like a young child may be caught up by the beautiful designs on a snake. A snake can crawl by the child, and the child sees these beautiful colors of the snake, and the child doesn't know what it is. He just assumes it's something that he can eat, And if he's hungry, he'll grab the snake, even though grabbing a snake is extremely dangerous. But it's all done out of ignorance. And ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is always suffering. It's just like if someone labels a drink nectar, but actually there's poison in it, in that drink. So one merrily picks it up and drinks it and dies out of convulsions. So that's what happens to kids that don't listen. They will get doubt, or they'll get caught in the meshes of complexity due to the laws of karma and the actions of the three modes of material nature. Okay, so apart from other living entities, the living being in the human form of body is systematically controlled by the Vedic injunctions in terms of the divisions of Varna and Ashrama. A human being is expected to follow the rules and regulations of Varna and Ashrama. Otherwise, he cannot escape punishment by Yamaraja. So, people read this and say, I don't believe this. Who's this Yamaraja? This is all nonsense. It's like the Christian devil. By the way, Yamaraja does not equal the Christian devil. The Christian devil is definitely an evil person. Yamaraj is not an evil person. But he has a thankless task. So, look up the meaning of this term, thankless task. Let me see what it means myself. A thankless task. That means you have to perform something very, very difficult, and most people will not recognize that you did something wonderful to help them. So the thankless task. One second, I'm trying to find thankless. What? Hard work? Hard work that brings very few results, yes. Or very few rewards. That's a thankless task. So, Yamaraja's work is a thankless task. He's not an evil person, he's actually a devotee. He's not only a devotee, he's a Mahajan, a great expert in Krishna consciousness and Krishna. See? So he's not the devil. But some people would say, oh, that's the devil. No. The devil is an evil person. Yamaraj is a pure, or is a very pure devotee. He's not the purest devotee, but he's pure. So, Krishna is behind the natural machine of nature, which works under his control. Apart from other living entities, the living being in the human form of body is systematically controlled by the Vedic injunctions in terms of the divisions of Varna and Ashrama. A human being is expected to follow the rules and regulations of Varna and Ashrama. Otherwise, he cannot escape punishment by Yamaraja. The point is that every human being is expected to elevate himself to the position of a Brahmana, the most intelligent man, and then one must transcend that position to become a Vaishya. To become a Vaishnava. This is the perfection of life. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra can elevate themselves by worshipping the Lord according to their activities. And this is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, Sve Sve Karmani Abhirata Samsiddhim Labhate Nara. So, if you look in Bhagavad Gita, that is 18th chapter, I think the 50th verse, is it? Let's see. Or 49th verse. No, it's not 49. It's 47. 45, yes. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect Now hear from me how this can be done. So, okay. Then it says, the divisions of Varna and Ashram are necessary to ensure the proper execution of duties and peaceful existence for everyone. But everyone is directed to worship the Supreme Lord, who is all-pervading. Yena sarvam idam tatam. That's the next verse, 46. Yatak parvatir bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. Swakarmana tamabhachar siddhim vindanti manava. By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all-pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. That's verse number 1846. So 1845 and 1846 are both very important verses for understanding the Varnashram Dharma. So, the divisions of Varna and Ashram are necessary to ensure the proper execution of duties and peaceful existence for everyone, but everyone is directed to worship the Supreme Lord, who is all-pervading. Yena sarvamidam tatam. Yeah, he's present in the heart as Paramatma, is present in every atom of the universe. That's why things work. The Supreme Lord exists vertically and horizontally, otam protam. And therefore, if one follows the Vedic injunctions by worshipping the Supreme Lord according to one's ability, his life will be perfect. A statement in Srimad Bhagvatam 1.2.13 says, Atak pumbir drijasestas varnashrama vibhagasa sanustitasya dharmasya samsadir halibtoshanam. O best among the twice-born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, meaning dharma, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please Lord Hari, or Krishna. The Varnashram institution offers a perfect process for making one eligible to return home back to Godhead, because the aim of every Varna and Ashrama is to please the Supreme Lord. One can please the Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, and if one does so, his life is perfect. The Supreme Lord is worshipable, and everyone worships him directly or indirectly. Those who worship him directly get the results of liberation quickly, whereas the liberation of those who serve him indirectly is delayed. The words na mabir vachi are very important. In the Varnashram institution, there are different names: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. The Vak, or Vedic injunctions, one who is spoken by Krishna. An injunction is something you have to take very seriously and follow, otherwise there are consequences. Everyone is expected to offer obeisance to the Supreme Lord and perform duties as indicated in the Vedas. So the Vak, or the Vedic injunctions, give directions for all divisions of society. Everyone is expected to offer obeisance to the Supreme Lord and perform duties as indicated in the Vedas. So life, everybody who lives is faced with this obligation of following rules and regulations. And when you don't follow them, you get punished. So there are rules and regulations in a family. There are rules and regulations in a governance or governing body, like the state of Washington, like the federal states, the United States. They all issue their rules, and you have to follow them if you want to get a license. Okay, so therefore, either we are controlled to do good things, or we're controlled to do bad things. It's our choice which way we want to go. And sometimes we choose to do some good things, and then we also choose at the same time to do some bad things. So that's like pouring water on a fire to extinguish it, and then pouring gasoline on the fire. So will you extinguish the fire? No. If you start with cold water and keep being persistent, you'll you will succeed at night or the day in putting out the fire. But most people don't understand the absolute necessity of following rules and regulations given by spiritual authorities or Krishna. So they may follow simply the rules of society, but not follow the rules of Varnashram Dharma. And that way they're stuck in the process of birth and death. So it says, as stated in the Srimad Bhagvatam, Atak Pumbir Jujasresta. So it means that, O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please Lord Hari. So that is the perfection of the Varnashram system, is to learn to please Lord Hari. If we do that, then all our problems will go away. One second, let me see what this person says. Right. Okay, so text number 14 and 15. Yamaraja, Indra, the king of heaven, Niriti, Varuna, Chandra, the moon god, Agni, Lord Shiva, Pavana, Lord Brahma, Surya, the sun god, Vishvasu, the 8 Vasus, the Sadyas, the Maruts, the Rudras, the Siddhas, and Marichi, and the other great rishis engaged in maintaining the departmental affairs of the universe, as well as the best of the demigods headed by Brihaspati, and the great sages headed by Bhrigu, were all certainly freed from the influence of the 2 base material modes of nature, namely passion and ignorance. Nevertheless, although we are in the mode of goodness, we cannot understand the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then is to be said of others who under illusion merely speculate to know God? So, although there are great controllers in the material universe, mainly demigods, but still they're somewhat influenced by the mode of goodness and passion or ignorance, and therefore they cannot understand Krishna, although they know things about Krishna, although they are servants of Krishna, but still there are many things they don't understand. And if they don't understand, then this verse says, what then is to be said of others who under illusion merely speculate to know God? So that means the scientists and the philosophers, they're only speculating to know God, so they have no way of understanding God. And if the demigods don't understand God, how would these speculators and these arrogant people, the scientists and the philosophers, understand God? It's impossible. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, the men and other living entities within the cosmic manifestation are controlled by the 3 modes of nature. For the living entities controlled by the basic qualities of nature, passion and ignorance, there is no the base qualities of nature. Base qualities means the lower qualities, which are passion and ignorance. There is no possibility of understanding God. So if one is mainly influenced by passion and ignorance, there's no possibility of understanding God. One would have to minimally come up to the stage of goodness to begin to understand something about God. This is why very few people today know Krishna because they're too entrenched in modes of passion and ignorance. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one who is situated in the devotional service of the Lord is transcendental to all the material qualities. That is, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Therefore, the Lord personally says that no one can understand him but the bhaktas, who are transcendental to all material qualities. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyasyasmi tatvato. So this, only by devotional service can I be understood. Tato mam tatvato gyatva vishatetad anantaram. And thus, by engaging in devotional service, one can even surpass the Brahman realization and attain eternal service to the Lord in the spiritual world. As stated by Bhisma to Maharaj Yudhisthira in Srimad Bhagvatam 1.9.16, Nahi asya karhichit rajan pumam veda vidut sitam yad vijijgya saya yukta muyanti kavayo pihi. O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Shri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. No one, therefore, can understand God by speculative knowledge. Indeed, by speculation one will be bewildered, or muyanti. This is also confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7.3. Manusyanam sahasre su kaschid jatati siddhaye jatatam ati siddhanam kaschid mamveti tatvata. So it says, among many, many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and even among the siddhas, those who have already become perfect, only one who adopts the process of bhakti, devotional service, can understand Krishna. So it's a very rare thing to be transcendentally situated and understanding Krishna. It's very, very rare. But it is possible. Okay, so a lot of takeaways from this verse, from these first two verses, 12, 13, and 14. But this verse is quoted by Bhismadev when he's speaking to Maharaj Yudhisthira. Is very important. Let's take a look at that purport. Let's see what it says. It is Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 1, and Chapter 9, and verse 16. Let's see what it says. One second. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.16. Oh, let's see what Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.16. Okay, so this verse says, the purport. Basically, it says, no one can know the plan of the Lord. Notice it doesn't say no one can know the Lord. No one can know the plan of the Lord, Shri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. In other words, what's the purpose of the material creation? You can't know what the purpose is unless you come in contact with a pure devotee. So in the purport it says, the bewilderment of Maharaj Yudhisthira over his past sinful acts and the resultant sufferings, etc., is completely negated by the great authority Bhisma, one of the 12 authorized persons. Bhisma wanted to impress upon Maharaj Yudhisthira that since time immemorial, no one, including such demigods as Shiva and Brahma, could ascertain, meaning understand, the real plan of the Lord. So what can we understand about it? It is useless. also to inquire about it. Even the exhaustive philosophical inquiries of sages cannot ascertain the plan of the Lord. The best policy is simply to abide by the orders of the Lord without argument. The sufferings of the Pandavas were never due to their past deeds. Now, our sufferings are due to our past deeds. But the sufferings of the Pandavas were not due to their past deeds. Okay? The Lord had to execute the plan of establishing the kingdom of virtue. Virtue means rightful activity, pious activity, activity uniquely for the benefit of Krishna. That's virtue. And he was glad to, let's look up the definition of virtue. We will see that it's different, I think, than what we just said. What's it say, Prabhu? You'll be our dictionary today. What's that? You see, it doesn't mention Krishna. And what does it mean, high moral standards? Morality is something that's fluid. It's changing all the time. So that doesn't really give the definition of virtue. So the Lord had to execute the plan of establishing the kingdom of virtue. That means the person who's the king has to be of the highest moral standard. Now, what is the real meaning of morality? The real meaning of morality is Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna explains to Arjuna that you surrender unto me, and then I give you the knowledge by which you come to me, by which you can attain all good qualities, including morality and equality and neutrality and all these good qualities, patience, tolerance, forbearance, forgiveness, and so forth. So, all these definitions in the dictionary fall short of the real definition of these words. So we have to understand that, because that is the trick of modern education. It's everything minus Krishna, like I said. So this definition of virtue is minus Krishna, and therefore it cannot be absolutely true, that definition. Bhisma was certainly satisfied by seeing the triumph of virtue, and he was glad to see King Yudhisthira on the throne, although he himself fought against him. Even a great fighter like Bhisma could not win the battle of Kurukshetra because the Lord wanted to show that vice cannot conquer virtue. Whoa, big point. Vice cannot conquer virtue. This is a proverbial statement, a wisdom statement. This is should be one of the goodness cookies wisdom. So let's write this down, Dhananjaya, and give it to our goodness cookie team. And it says, vice cannot conquer virtue. Virtue always conquers vice. And then you have to write the definition of virtue in the parentheses. So virtue is only working, the definition of virtue is surrendering oneself to the will of Krishna and always pleasing the Lord by following his instructions. That is the highest principle of virtue. You got that? You got it? And strictly follow his instructions. That is the highest principle of virtue. Now let's compare that definition to what's in a dictionary. What's the dictionary say for virtue? Okay, so you see, The highest moral standards is working only to please Lord Krishna. That's the highest moral standard. That's why the Bhagavad Gita is a treatise, treatisc, of virtue or morality. Okay? So treatise means like a book explaining something. Look that up. treatisc. treatisc. What does that mean? treatisc. What's it say? Yeah. It's a book, right? Yeah. Yes. So the Bhagavad Gita is a treatise. And how do you pronounce it? Click on the pronunciation. Is it treatise? What's it? You should be able to click on the pronunciation and it says it out loud. Play it out loud so I can hear it. What's it say? Yeah, treatise, right? Treatise. Okay, it's treatise. So it's a treatise. We should say the word correctly. Treatise. Okay, I was saying treatise. It's a treatise. So, Bhisma was certainly satisfied by seeing the triumph of virtue. And he was glad to see King Yudhishthira on the throne, because King Yudhishthira was ideally virtuous king. He surrendered to Krishna and was strictly following his order, although he himself fought against him. Even a great fighter like Bhisma could not win the battle of Kurukshetra because the Lord wanted to show that vice cannot conquer virtue, and virtue always conquers vice, regardless of who tries to execute it. Bhismadev was a great devotee of the Lord, but he chose to fight against the Pandavas by the will of the Lord because the Lord wanted to show that a fighter like Bhisma cannot win on the wrong side. Okay? You cannot win on the wrong side. These are all big points. So, the first is vice cannot conquer virtue, and even the best person will not be successful if they fight for the wrong side. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. So this verse 1916 says, we just read the purport, O King Yudhishthira, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Shri Krishna, even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. No one, therefore, can understand God by speculative knowledge. Another very important point. No one can understand God by speculative knowledge. Indeed, by speculation one would be bewildered. Muyanti. This is also confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:3. Manusyanam sahasresu kaschit jatati siddhaye jatatam api siddhanam kaschit mam veti tattvataha. Among many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and even among the siddhas, those who have already become perfect, only one who adopts the process of bhakti, devotional service, can understand Krishna. Okay. So we read 3 verses now, or 4 verses, but they are all very profound verses. Now, today, for tomorrow, your homework is to look up a certain number of words. I'm going to tell you what they are. Give their dictionary definition, and I want you to then compare those definitions to Prabhupada's definition of the same word. Not only Prabhupada's, Krishna's and Prabhupada's definition of the same word. Okay. So 1 is virtue. 2 is two is yoga. 3 is three is the phrase prescribed duties. And 4 1 second. I'm going to tell you in a second. Okay, so then, just those 4. Then I want you to explain what is the plan of the Lord, specifically in the case of Bhisma and the Battle of Kurukshetra, and then what is the plan of the Lord specifically about the material creation. So you have 2 questions there. What is the plan of the Lord specifically in the Battle of Kurukshetra and Bhisma Deva? And 2, what is the plan of the Lord concerning the material creation? And then one other question. So number 5 in definitions. There's the definition of word illusion. So the material the definition given in a dictionary, and a definition in Krishna consciousness of the word illusion. Okay, so you have homework for tomorrow. Are there any questions? Okay, well, we talked about virtue, yoga, huh? What? Huh? Prescribed duty. I can't understand your accent. Prescribed duties. You have to look up the dictionary meaning and The real meaning given in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And then 4, what? Illusion. And 5, there's one more. Okay, that's a question. What is the plan of the Lord specifically in reference to Bhisma, and what is the plan of the Lord for the material creation? And there was one more thing as far as definitions go. Did you get that? No, there was a 5th one. I said it in last. Huh? Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, no more questions? Huh? Okay, thank you very much, and we'll stop right there.